Welcome, fans, to PWR Interactive Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. Damian Nelson and the man they call Meathead coming to you review of TNA's Destination X pay-per-view from Norfolk, Virginia. Meathead, how are you this Sunday evening?
Unfortunately, not in Norfolk, Virginia, because, you know, my girl, my Arby's sensation, lives down in Virginia. I believe it was Richmond she's from. So I would have liked to have been in Norfolk and maybe stop by the drive-thru, you know what I mean?
Well, indeed, I do know what you mean. Fans, here's how the format will work.
No, you don't.
Here's how the format will work this evening. We will run down the pay-per-view, so if you saw it, play along. If you didn't see it, play along as well. We'll give you the update as to what happened. At the end of the review, in the next few minutes here, we will take your calls and comments on the pay-per-view. We'll also review the comments in the PWR forum at pwrshow.com. And as a matter of fact, for those of you who are on this call right now, in case you have not signed up for PWR Mobile, to get the reminder this evening that the show is on, there will be another major interview announcement only exclusively on PWR Mobile coming up this week, early this week, no later than Wednesday. So sign up as soon as you can for the free PWR Mobile service. Meathead, you've got it, don't you?
Yes, I do. I need it because sometimes I sleep through things that I'm supposed to be at. Like I missed the fantasy draft yesterday. Whoops, I was taking a nap.
At times it happens. Let's go into TNA Destination X from the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia. I will say, Meathead, it was an awesome opening video package, but it was followed by an Angle Alliance promo. Yeah. They were getting to the arena. Pretty much made me forget right away how good the open was. We then actually officially opened the pay-per-view, and it was Don West,
and Mike West,
who were at ringside, and Don West, clearly startled by the seemingly louder pyrotechnics, but that's just a minor thing. The entrance set, Meathead, looked very familiar to me.
Yeah, I was thinking WCW circa 2000. Maybe.
But you know what? Is that a bad thing?
No, because you know what? I like their set at the end of the run. You know, they had a nice big screen in the middle, and.
Oh. But enough about that. Let's get to the meat, and let's get to an amazing opening match. Well, it was somewhat of a throw, but an amazing opening match. Three-way tag match, rather. LAX, Latin American Exchange, versus Raven Hoyt and the Motor City Machine Guns. The winners would be the number one contenders for the Tag Team Championship. Meathead, an amazing match, simply owned by a dominating Hernandez.
Wow, and you know what? I was awoken to what Hernandez could do when I watched Bound for Glory, this previous Bound for Glory that was at the end of 2007. And, you know, I've been on to him ever since. For a big man, he is a monster. I mean, he's a bad MFer, honestly. And the mustache, it just throws you off, but it makes him look even badder, to be honest.
They said it was a more aggressive LAX. LAX was going to be
aggressive.
A bit more intense, which is very scary, as you just said, Meathead, because they are already very aggressive. However, here's the problems I had with the match, which are few and don't have anything to do with the performance of the match. Don West marking out again. But at the same time, how can you blame him? The fans never sat down during the match.
We saw that at Bound for Glory when the Homicide rolled through the ring. At Bound for Glory, Homicide rolled through the ring ropes, came up, high five, Don West jumping up and dancing with him. I got a problem with that because, you know, you need to be at the broadcast position. It's one thing if you're doing it at Bound for Glory and these guys are doing, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but that was a planned spot. You know it was planned. He was already.
Yeah, but I think there was still some spontaneity with it, obviously with.
And spontaneity.
You just think. Look up, and all of a sudden you've got one of the athletes right in front of you, and just sort of after an awesome move. I think it's more reflex for him. But it is. I agree with you. However, it's the fans never sat down during that match, which you just don't see.
They know.
It continued a solid trend of remote pay-per-view opening matches. This match was one of the best matches I've seen in quite a long time, especially when it comes to tag team wrestling, which we talked about on the last edition of Pro Wrestling Report with the debate.
Mm-hmm. And and we alluded to it as well on the debate that back in the old school days, the main events used to be tag matches. That's where you got all your main event players in that match, and you let the rest of the talent work all the other matches.
And we say Hernandez dominated. I say Hernandez dominated. I think everybody got pretty much equal time in that match. It was clearly owned.
Infection. Wow, where did they come from?
Yeah, and it was clearly dominated though by Hernandez and Alex Shelley, in my opinion.
Okay. Homicide didn't get enough spots. You're right, but wow, Jimmy Rave and Lance Hoyt. The spot between Homicide and Lance Hoyt, the suplex.
Oh yeah.
How long was that held?
I'm sure if Guinness was watching, it's probably the longest held suplex in the history of professional wrestling.
But it's not one man that does that move. That's a 50-50 move right there.
Great matchup, solid opener. LAX goes over in that match. They are the #1 contenders for the TNA Tag Team Championships. From there, Meathead, we see a championship match, that and the X Division Championship. It is the Maple Leaf Muscle, Petey Williams, going up against... Definition of definition, going up against Black Machismo, Jay Lethal. Here is what struck me in that match that I hadn't quite noticed until tonight. Petey's music sounds very familiar, Meathead.
And why does it sound familiar, Dameon?
It sounds very familiar with the gimmick he's playing.
Yeah.
It sounds very familiar to a particular wrestler who we had the opportunity to see yesterday evening, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, did we see him last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really. That's
Chris Masters we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It never dawned on me until this evening. I would not compare the two. However, the music is seemingly the same.
Very similar.
Not the same, but very similar. But that's not important because Brian Hebner brought into TNA as one of the new referees of Earl from WWE, who was also released when Earl was released. One of the most popular referees in WWE for a while. Remember his beatboxing days.
And nephew of Dave.
Yes, indeed.
I know that fell on deaf ears there, and it took a second to calculate what that was, but yeah, nephew of Dave. How much for the plastic surgery, brother?
How about that phenomenal hurricanrana, Meathead, that Petey Williams executed after jumping over the top rope and landing a hurricanrana? I've never seen anything like that before.
You know what's great about what's going on with Petey right now is the reinsertion of the Canadian Destroyer into his matches. I mean, because when Petey was struggling, Petey wasn't allowed to pull off his move. I mean, because he was so far down. But the fact that he's getting this little shove, this little push, this little attention with whatever Raka Khan is supposed to be. Yeah.
That's a big girl.
Yeah, it's okay. Reminds me of Midnight.
Because that's when you would like to be talking to her, is around midnight?
After midnight.
Let me tell you, folks, this was a great match. Great wrestling play-by-play commentary by Mike Tenay. You don't hear it very often because WWE does not do it. TNA does. Mike Tenay, great job following this fast-paced match. We saw Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner come out and interfere. We saw SoCal Val interfere as well. However, the interference in this match, Meathead, I don't think was too much. I think it was actually, it served a purpose in this match, as we eventually saw Jay Lethal win over Petey Williams, who had the match won, if not for the SoCal interference.
Right, and you know what? It told the story, so that's not over.
From there, we go to, what probably was, I thought, going to be the weakest match on the card, turned out to be actually a pretty good match. It's Black Rain and Relic going up against Kaz and Eric Young.
I have a problem with this match. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It was a tag match, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when Eric Young got tagged in, and got into the ring, and all of a sudden Relic snapped up Undertaker style. Eric ran out. Now, shouldn't that match have been over at a 10 count because he was the legal man in?
Yes. It should have.
Does TNA even care?
Apparently not. That's a good point. But what Eric did was come back as Super Eric. A bit cheesy, a bit Hurricane-like, a bit Rosie-like,
a bit
but clearly
Hart-like,
different.
A bit Blue Blazer-like, a bit Eugene-like, a bit
But this was a story that has been building for quite some time. I think the fans really loved it. It was shocking. It was surprising. Nobody expected it. The double Death Valley driver to end the match is a real story here because that was amazing. Dustin Rhodes is not a small person. Relic, not a small person.
No.
And for Eric Young to not only get them both on his shoulders, but walk halfway across the ring to execute.
He carried him on his back.
Totally did. This was actually a good match. I tell you, Meathead, Black Rain, Relic, whatever you want to say, Relic, I think, is getting more and more impressive week after week.
It's just
we know Kaz is for him.
It's too bad that he has to be Relic and not Johnny Stamboli.
Moving on, TNA Knockouts Championship. Gail Kim versus ODB versus Awesome Kong. Meathead.
What was up with ODB's hair? What was with that hair?
It doesn't matter because, Meathead, I'm going to go on record and say this is, by and far, one of the best women's matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, and we keep saying that about TNA knocked-up championship matches.
Well, here's the thing, and we'll go in depth on this as well, too, in a future episode of Pro Wrestling Report. They're knocked out.
Knocked up.
Knockout division just a couple of months ago, and they have dominated the industry now as it pertains to female wrestling. The question I ask you, Meathead, and the question I ask all of our viewers out there and everybody participating here in the chat room and who may be calling in is, what is the difference, aside from the obvious, in this matchup tonight, this three-way dance for the TNA Knockout Championship? What was the difference, aside from the obvious, that they were women, between that and a man's match?
What was the difference?
What's the difference, really?
Lack of speed. That's it. The girls can't go off the rope as fast as the guys can because of strength. Because, those are high-tension ropes. And you get your speed from leaning into the ropes. The strength of you leaning into the ropes and the recoil, that's where you get the speed. So the speed is a little slower in the women's match. Other than that, TNA lets their women wrestle.
Exactly, and wrestle they did. I would say that if that match was not a women's match, it was just another professional wrestling match on the card.
Yeah.
And that's what TNA really is doing very well. They are wrestling, and they proved it tonight. We'll talk more when we get to the overall view of the card. Folks, if you want to call in and be a part of tonight's call, we'll be taking your phone calls in the next 5 minutes or so. The number to call is area code 724-444 7244. I believe is the number. Call-in code is 11203. It is a free call, aside from the long-distance charges if you're not in the, I believe, Pennsylvania area. However, feel free to give a call. We've got a couple of callers waiting in the chat room right now, and we'll move on to continue to talk about that match that Awesome Kong won. Great, stiff matchup with that also, Meathead, told a great story.
Sure, it's a total amazing story, and that story's not over either, which is just, phenomenal. I can't wait to watch it even more.
Moving on from there, Jim Cornette comes out and speaks to the crowd in Norfolk. He says that Team 3D must make weight or be terminated from the company in their upcoming matchup, which we'll talk more about in a minute, and that the decision was, they were talking about voting all night, which is interesting, via their website, showing the results and showing the changes to those results as they happen. That the Team Angle should indeed be the winner of the cage match. However, the fans will decide who gets the 5-minute advantage, and it remained the decision that Earl Hebner made in the matchup on Impact last week. From there, Meathead, we go to the match that truly stunk up the card. The Fish Market Street Fight.
Oh, no. That was a pun, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pun.
Team 3D makes weight, somehow or another. Brian and Earl are in the ring, the Hefner boys, and they are, well, I can't call them boys, I guess, dad and son. And they make weight. However, I would expect there's going to be more to that story coming up on this week's Impact.
Okay.
But, Meathead, they were using fish as weapons as Team 3D took on Curry
Man
and Shark Boy.
Konnichiwa!
I got to tell you, this Curry Man gimmick, this is could be one of the best things in the last couple of years in professional wrestling. It is entertaining.
Isn't it great? And what you didn't get was you didn't get the. Sorry, I had another call coming through, so I'm trying to ignore it. You didn't get the video presentation from TNA that you were supposed to because TNA goofed on it. But when they introduced the Curry Man, you're supposed to see sleeve number 1. He's hot. Sleeve number 2. He's spicy. And his back tastes great. And yes, the question was asked in the chat room, did I get up and dance? Damn right I got up and danced.
And how could you not? Really, it is a fun gimmick, and I think the Christopher Daniels is enjoying himself. They did go over in that match, did Curry Man and Shark Boy, but Meathead, the match is completely ridiculous. But you know what? If that's the only match where we're really going to just throw the rule book out the window as far as wrestling, then
well, they
so
threw
be
the
it.
rule book out with EY and Kaz.
You know, but I don't think so because we still saw great wrestling in that match. This match,
No,
I'm not sure.
You said the rule book.
As far as it pertains to wrestling matches.
Okay.
Not necessarily the disqualification rules and whatnot.
No, the rule book is the rule book, but I'm not going to argue with you. This is new improved meat, remember? People don't like it when I get all angry and piss on the show, so I'm not going to argue with you.
Brother Way, at the end of the match, shoves the guest of TNA and Johnny Fairplay of the most recent Survivor at ringside, similar to Bam Bam and LT at Royal Rumble 95.
That's
and,
a big boy.
Obviously,
that's a big boy.
He is a big boy and expects some type of storyline to come down the road from that, from TNA.
You think?
Excuse me?
Johnny managing?
I would expect that to be the case. But here's the thing we noticed right there. Atlas Security, who used to do the ECW shows, doing the TNA show. That was a blast from the past. Same people. I don't know what they've been doing for the last 10 years, but
securing rock concerts.
It is.
Whatever happened to red shirt? Whatever happened to red shirt security?
That's a great question, but that match, we'll just leave it where it is. It's always you're going to get good comedy when you deal with Team 3D, and they don't get enough credit for that, and they have obviously great wrestling skills as well. But this match, I thought, literally was the low point of the card, overall card. Let's go to the next match, which is the Stand By Your Man strap match. It is Mr. Robert Roode going up against Booker T. Peyton Marks and Miss Tracy Brooks are the two other participants in this match. Roode and T strapped to each other by a leather strap. However, the ref doesn't see Robert Roode use the cuffs as a weapon,
right,
and gets the pinfall victory over Booker T. Now, would it have mattered if the ref saw it? Because I think once you tie a strap to 2 men in a wrestling ring, I don't think there are any other rules that need to be followed.
I'm sorry, did you say that was the only match, the last one, the fish one, where the rules got thrown out?
No, listen, I said the rule book as it pertains to a professional wrestling match.
You're
what
right.
I mean is just the...
You're right.
What?
No, you're right. This one, it didn't matter. Again, and I mentioned this on the forum, and I've mentioned this to the chat room here. All the times they said strap, nobody ever said on.
We see Robert Roode go over in that match. Tracy Brooks gets a very uncomfortable 10 lashes.
Yeah. I felt
bad. It's what the story needed. She played it very well. She sold it very well, but she didn't sell it damn near as good as Charmel did, who did the run-in at the end. And, I mean, she went buck wild on everybody, including Pinzer.
Strap?
Yes, indeed. She just went crazy, and wow, very well done by TNA, very well done by Charmel.
You're saying that her strap was on her wrist, so she had a strap-on wrist.
Yes.
You better play along, otherwise I'm going to keep doing it. I'm just kidding. New and improved Meathead. Continue.
Very well done angle by TNA and Charmel. Really hot, really good angle to end that match. And Booker T had been removed, for those of you wondering where he was, he had been removed by security so that Tracy Brooks could get her 10 lashes.
Atlas security.
Amazing heat to that match. And Charmel, I mean, really, she even went after Don West and Mike Today at ringside. They hit Cornette as well with it several times. It'll be interesting to see where that goes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Elevation X. This very hyped, returning to pay-per-view. It is Rhino versus Storm. Meathead, I thought the structure looked very unsafe and unstable.
You're talking to a guy that's afraid of heights. Everything looks unstable.
It was the whole thing had a very uneasy feeling. It wasn't helped along the way by Don West and his complete, seemingly public disagreement with the match concept.
I also have another problem with this match. Don West in his commentary said, Rhino and James Storm, I know exactly how you feel being up there. No, you don't. You haven't been up there. You're not a wrestler. Mr. Selling Baseball Cards guy. Shut the F up.
That is true, not up there, but the match, I think, overall, is more sizzle than steak. And really, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be talking about the Elevation X match come tomorrow at the water cooler.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so either.
I just expected a lot more. I mean, we've seen AJ Styles, we've seen Kaz, we've seen a lot more limber and agile people participate in the match and with some more spectacular spots. But really, it gets to a point where you wonder where Too Far is, and is this a match where it is just really never going to deliver what the fans are hoping they don't see, but expecting to see?
Too Far was in the match previous to that, and unfortunately, Too Far was Robert Roode hitting Tracy with the strap.
Yeah.
That was Too Far.
That was Elevation X, and then the main event. It was a 5-minute advantage for the team of Kevin Nash, Samoa Joe, and Christian Cage as they took on the first two, which were Tomko and Styles. Then Kurt Angle came out to be met by Samoa Joe. Meathead, I thought it was a solid match, a very good main event, a little short, but well-paced. It told me everything I needed to tell me. Samoa Joe, getting the win, going into lockdown now as the number one contender, and making Tomko tap. Again, why did Tomko ever go heel? What are we getting out of this?
Tomko's getting nothing out of it. Nobody's getting anything out of it. You know, this is all this match was for Joe Angle. So.
Yes, indeed. That is TNA Destination X, the pay-per-view. Overall, solid show, great show. What TNA did again on pay-per-view is they showed why they are wrestling. They put on a superior professional wrestling product to WWE by and far. They put out matches, including the Fish Market Street fight, that WWE could not put on today if they wanted to.
Stop there.
No, they could not.
I'm not the E-mark that you are, but if WWE wanted to put on those matches, they have the people to put on those matches. They choose not to.
They don't have enough to do it.
I don't know, because I
match
don't
for
know
match,
randomly.
3 hours of pay-per-view, which is what we got tonight, which we don't get from WWE. They don't have it.
No, Dameon, no. Out of nowhere, randomly, and I hate to admit this now, but it's a year and a half later, Hardy's, M&M, that kind of pay-per-view. I mean, Armageddon. I mean, that's the kind of thing that WWE can do if they choose to.
And even when you look at those matches, they can certainly do those matches. Overall, they can't put on a 3-hour pay-per-view like this. They can do that 1 or 2 matches every here and again.
If they want,
Cena.
they choose not to. Again, I'm not
TNA's got to be. TNA is the only group, along with Ring of Honor, that can put on a full, complete wrestling show, which is what we saw tonight. Think of that opening match. WWE does not have anything close to the 6 talent, the 6 members of their roster to do what was done in that opening match. I mean, obviously Hernandez is a unique talent.
He is definitely. He's the Umaga or Umanga. He's Umaga that they won't let Umaga do. Umaga in a match like that would be phenomenal as well. Could you imagine Umaga in a match like that, run alongside maybe a Hernandez?
That is I can imagine it. I mean, I don't know. TNA put on 3 solid hours of wrestling, and that is certainly worth the $29.95 that they chose to charge here in the States for the show.
Or the $15 that I pay. So, wink, wink.
And again, TNA with a good formula and great action in the pay-per-view. It was well worth it. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the card going into it, I don't think I know I didn't expect it to be as good a pay-per-view as it was. The card really didn't look as strong as the delivery was.
Yeah, well, the delivery is always going to be strong from the guys that are striving to do more. WWE guys seem to feel like they've got their place and they don't have to work as hard. The main event level is where it is, the mid-level is where it is, and then, WWE holds their talent back.
And what TNA has done as well is proven that they can go on the road and put on a decent production, which tonight, I mean, the show just felt good. It was a special show. As we've discussed, Meathead, we typically don't actually order these pay-per-views unless they are on the road, because it is a special event.
We talked about that.
But let's go to our first caller, and we're only taking registered users as callers, by the way. So, Griftar, Garrett Gross, male, 26 years old. Where are you calling from?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Did you watch TNA pay-per-view this evening?
Oh yeah, I thought it was an awesome pay-per-view.
Good. What are your highlights?
TNA came out to the pay-per-view. I danced also, so.
I'm sorry?
You danced as
When
well?
I got up to dance.
Curry Man. What was the highlight of the pay-per-view for you, other than Curry Man?
Probably the X Division match. Black Machismo, just an amazing wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Petey Williams also. I mean, match of the show right there.
And a low point if you had to identify one.
Probably the Evolution match or whatever it's called.
The Evolution X match with Rhino and Storm?
Yes, I'm a Rhino fan, but Storm, for some reason, I think he just can't bring it, I don't think. I mean, there's just something about him that just,
Oh. Well, thank you very much for your call. Are you looking forward to Lockdown coming up from TNA next month?
Oh, yeah, I get every TNA pay-per-view every month. So.
Do you get every WWE pay-per-view every month?
That'd be a no.
That is a good story right there, Meathead. A person who simply orders the TNA only, not WWE. That's interesting.
The only WWE pay-per-view I get is probably WrestleMania. That's it.
That's okay.
So.
Well, if there's one pay-per-view from WWE you're going to buy a year, it should be WrestleMania. So thanks for your call very much.
I got a quick...
Oh.
Go ahead. Hello?
You have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Sanjay Dutt never getting a shot at the X Division title?
I think it's coming. Actually, if you look at it, I mean, the way he's kind of sniffing around, you know what's really uncomfortable is they have two mega power type situations going on right now. You've got AJ Styles sniffing around Karen. You've got Sanjay Dutt sniffing around SoCal Val. The same angles with different, I mean, on the same show. But that's really where I think that's going. You see Sanjay Dutt, kind of hanging around Jay Lethal while he's got the belt. He should be next in line.
Thank you very much for that call, Grifter Garrett from Tennessee. Let's go to another caller. We've got a caller from Florida, I believe. Florida, go ahead. Caller from Florida.
Yes. I was just curious. Was it me or at this last TNA show, didn't Shark Boy say that if Team 3D lost, they wouldn't be able to wrestle on TNA again?
No, if they weren't unable to weigh in, if they were unable to make weight.
Right, but I mean, I could have swore I thought that him say or lose, but I guess I was mistaken because they did.
No, it was just about the weigh-in. What'd you think of the pay-per-view overall?
Well, really, I don't have the money to pay for it, but I got the results from a site that just tells you about it, and there's a site that puts the pay-per-views on the next day, so I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
Okay. So the site you're getting it from is pwrshow.com, I hope.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your call, Florida. We've got another caller from Florida. Go right ahead. You're on the Pro Wrestling Report, PWR Interactive. What's your name and what city are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
Yeah. What's up? No, seriously. I wanted to talk about the pay-per-view. I got a chance to see it. I thought it was a really great pay-per-view. The one thing I do kind of notice is that it had a great opener, but towards the end of it, it kind of just started to die out for me. You had the six-man matchup at the beginning, the P.D. Williams lethal matchup, the Rain and Kaz match, which was kind of it was a road bump really, especially that spot with Eric Young. That was just that. Hello?
Yeah, I think it started off very strong. I think it ended decent. I think the Charmel spot near the end was good. I think the Women's Championship was good. I think we certainly started off stronger than we ended. The Elevation X match was more hype than delivery. And again, I'm not faulting anybody in that match because there's only so much you can do. I mean, the mere nature and design of the match is very challenging for the participants. But I thought the main was solid. I think it was a very good main event. I think it didn't get dragged out like it could have. And I think that it certainly delivered as a main event.
I think the problem I had with the main event is I was kind of expecting some sort of drama to happen after the matchup. especially with what's been going on with the Angle Alliance and everything. I was kind of expecting something, something that would lead us into Impact, but the match just kind of
we already
ended.
have something actually to lead us into Impact, and Karen has a major announced. Blah blah blah. I'm so sick and tired of that. Dameon,
here's the good thing though. We didn't. Well, sort of good thing.
We did. We did because it started off the show.
Yeah, but we didn't have to steer.
It doesn't matter if it's not.
That made the average Angle skit 1 minute less, I think, of the 4 or 5 we saw tonight.
Yeah, but we need 4 or 5 less skits.
Hey, I'm with you. I completely agree. Thank you very much for that call, Florida.
Wait, hello?
Sir? Go ahead.
Can I just say one last thing about, I just got to say the Fish Market Street Fight, and I just want to say something about that before I get out. You keep saying that it was kind of like the low point or it wasn't that good.
Well, that's Dameon that said that.
Yeah, because I personally, I took it for what it was, which was just, I didn't take it as a wrestling match. I just took it as just one big comedy segment, and I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Right.
You had the part where Curryman throws the Twinkie on the fishing pole, and it was just a great match to laugh at. It was just so funny. To me, it's the one thing that I'll actually remember out of this matchup. Although the other matches were good, that's definitely going to be what I'm going to take from it.
There you go. I 100% agree, and that's why I didn't think it was the ass of the pay-per-view. I thought the Elevation X was the ass of it, or the taint, if you will.
Well, that wasn't the match's fault. I think the problem with the matchup is that it felt really tacked on. These two guys shouldn't be in an Elevation X match. That should be left for Kaz's or AJ Styles.
Well, it's not Rhino's first either, so it's not that Rhino doesn't belong in that match.
But he had AJ Styles in it, so it kind of balanced out.
James Storm doesn't belong in that match.
Yeah. But I agree.
Jacqueline doesn't belong on the top either. So.
Thank you for that call from Florida. We will.
Gravity's going to take those boobies down. I mean, that's how heavy she is. She's going to be pulled down.
Thanks for the call from Florida. Fans, if you want to call in here to PWR Interactive, calls are free. It's area code 724-444-7444. Call-in ID is 11203. So if you're in the chat room and not dialed in, we are ready to take some more phone calls. And again, there's guest 7 and guest 14 who are ready to speak. We only take calls from registered users, so you need to sign up and register. Otherwise, you will not be on the broadcast. Also, folks, as we said earlier, sign up for PWR Mobile, which you can do at pwrshow.com. There'll be a major interview announcement for the Pro Wrestling Report staff coming to you no later than Wednesday of this week. Meathead, you and I will be at Raw tomorrow night in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Bradley Center. It's a 3-hour WrestleMania Rewind Raw. Floyd Mayweather also to be in attendance. Should be a good night. And then all our way into WrestleMania, Ring of Honor, TNA. It's going to be an amazing week in Orlando, Florida. This show is not over. However, you guys want to call in again, the number is 724-444-7444. Call-in ID is 11203. Meathead, briefly, last night we had the chance to be at Great Lakes Championship Wrestling's March show. It was nearly 1,000 people in attendance. Again, another near capacity crowd at the Ramada on the south side of Milwaukee. We saw some amazing talents there.
The amazing thing about this show was for anybody that goes to local shows, number 1, it started on time. Number 2, all the talent that was advertised was at it. Number 3, it ended on time. I've never been to a local show that's done that before, ever.
It is rare. We saw talent such as Mick Foley, Al Snow, the New Age Outlaws, Skull Crusher, all kinds of amazing talent. Scotty 2 Hottie, Sonny, on this one show. And I think really, the fans really seem to be enjoying themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen Lenny Lane, and that wasn't even advertised. Hey, Lenny Lane. All right.
Exactly. And you'll be seeing that DVD become available at the PWR and Blizzard Brawl websites in just a few days here, actually, along with some special never-before-seen footage that will be available on the DVD. So even if you were at the show or if you were not able to attend the show, you always want to make sure you pick up the DVD. Fans, again, if you want to chime in, you can call us here on the phone number and the call-in information we just gave you. We appreciate all of the amazing guests who have come into the chat room, as we are near our capacity for chatters here in the chat room, so this is good. And remember, you can always continue the dialogue at pwrshow.com in a filtered setting, and all you have to do is register to participate in what has been deemed, Meathead, by many, the web's most friendly pro wrestling forum.
You say filtered. I say structured.
Oh, I like that word. That works.
Yeah, because you know what? We don't. I mean, we're not Nazis. Not to we're not control freaks. We just want people to get along and talk a little wrestling.
TNA Impact this week. They're going to be doing a taping tomorrow, then another taping on Tuesday, and then they go live on March 27th. Meathead, we will be in attendance at that live Impact show on March 27th. It is going to be a very, very good night. They're doing it special. They have acknowledged the fact that there are going to be a lot of fans in town who may not have been exposed to TNA's products, so they're going to do this live show to really get themselves out there. Very smart move by TNA, not ducking away from the fact that WrestleMania is going to be in town and that the WrestleMania Fan Access Tour will be at Universal on the live day and the day after the live day where they're doing tapings. They're simply embracing it and taking advantage of the opportunity.
Which is what I said 6 months ago, is they should have done. I didn't say do live on the 27th. What I said is they should acknowledge that the fans are in the area, and acknowledge that Meathead and Dameon are going to be in Orlando. We might as well make it live for them because, Meathead hasn't been to a show yet. So they're doing what, they should be doing, which is it's a great move.
Indeed. And remember, PWR has got you covered via internet, via text, via television as well. So, fans, your thoughts on TNA Destination X, the pay-per-view, you can go ahead and send us your emails or continue to chat on the pwrshow.com forum. Otherwise, Meathead, for the man they call Frank Cosentino, this edition of PWR Interactive is going to go ahead and go off the air. Keep checking the PWR website to find out when the next live broadcast of PWR Interactive will be on. We will not be on this Monday night, as again, we will be at Raw in the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, and we will be giving you information this week as to when you can see the next edition of PWR Interactive. Again, for the man they call Meathead and Frank Cosentino, Dameon Nelson signing off for the Pro Wrestling Report.